All right, folks, back again. This is Let's Talk Trades. I am John T. Hawkins, and this show is geared toward bringing exposure to the skilled trades. So I started this with it being more geared towards the younger generation, but quite honestly, this is for anyone who's interested in getting into the skilled trades. It is a viable option. You can make a lot of money and you have a lot of options once you get your certification or your license. So, with that being said, this interview, I had the opportunity, the honor to interview Mrs. Nora Taylor. She's an IBEW union electrician, mostly commercial work. She's been an electrician for 13 years. She was gracious enough to give me an interview and share her story. A lot of great information, great inspiring story. So without further ado, we'll dive right into the episode. Check it out. Greetings, good people. This is Let's Talk Trades with John Tay. And today we have, how would you like
Uh,
your
Nora. No, my name is Nora.
Nora? Nora.
Yes.
So you're a certified electrician? So,
Yes, I am an IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, union electrician, commercial industrial.
gotcha. Gotcha. Perfect. So can you give us a little background?
Sure. So my name is Nora Taylor. I am 43 years old. I have been in the trades for 13 years now. The majority of my career was non-union. I organized into IBEW in 2019 from a pretty reputable non-union company in my area. And yeah, that's a little bit of background in terms of my career.
Perfect. So a little bit of information about the IBEW. So this is the union for electricians, correct?
Yes, yes.
And when you started, so your state recognizes the union certifications as the if you need to like pull permits or anything like that.
Yes.
But you do mostly commercial work and nothing residential or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I do mainly commercial and industrial work. I haven't done anything residential that would require me to pull a permit. Um, but yeah, if I had to, I would be able to.
So your classification as a journeyman
Yes.
electrician, right?
Journeyman inside wireman is my title.
Right. So for everyone who's curious about how the IBEW works, you start off as an apprentice, right? How long would you do you work as an apprentice before you can qualify for the journeyman?
Okay, so the apprenticeship is I believe they say it's a 5 year term. So you go to school 2 nights a week, and I think school really ends for the apprentices around like the third or fourth year. Like you're finished with school, but you still work to get your hours to raise your ticket, as they call it, which is going from apprentice to journeyman.
And was there an exam that you had to take to obtain your journeyman's?
Well, so for me, the way that I came in was a little bit different. I actually didn't go through the apprenticeship. When I organized in, since I organized in from a non-union company, what happened was the group of us that organized in, we had to test at that point. And depending on how you did at the test on the test, that determined whether or not you would have to be placed into the apprenticeship, whether it be first year, second, third, wherever you stood. And if not, if you tested out as they call it, then you just came in as a journeyman, and that's what I did.
Right. Perfect. So it varies a lot state to state. So I know North Carolina, they don't recognize IBEW, the
Really?
journeyman's. journeyman's license. The state doesn't. So
Okay.
you don't need a license if you're doing commercial work under, the larger contractor. But if you're doing
Okay.
any type of residential work or anything like that, you have to go through the licensure for North Carolina to become a licensed electrical contractor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if you're a journeyman, you will still have to get your North Carolina general electrical contractor's license
License.
to,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
to do any residential work.
Right. Okay.
So that was one of the reasons I made the shift to become a general contractor.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to community college for electrical
Mm-hmm.
and industrial systems and found out I had to work for 4 years under a licensed electrician before
Yeah.
I was qualified to take the exam. So,
Wow.
are you serious? Yeah. So I took the GC exam for my commercial license and passed it. So
Okay.
that's how I made the shift from teaching electrical
Mm-hmm.
to doing more GC commercial work.
Right.
So how are you introduced to the trades?
So my journey into the trades was a rather unconventional one. So I am a recovering addict, and in my early years, I had gotten into some trouble, and I went away for a while. And while I was incarcerated, the place where I went, you could work, and some of the jobs that you could work were it was trades work. You could weld, you could do electrical, you could do plumbing, you could do masonry, you could do carpentry. There were all types of jobs there at the place. So the jobs that were most interesting to me, well, first and foremost, I knew that I wanted to turn my life around and make something out of what I had gone through and come out on top and just the best version of myself that I could possibly be. So the trades that I was interested in was welding, electrical, or auto mechanic. And it just so happens that I was placed on one of the electrical crews. There were two, and I got placed on one of the electrical crews. So that was my into the trades. I started doing that work, and I started out doing industrial work, industrial maintenance, industrial electrical maintenance. That's what I started out doing. So that was my into the trades, and I honestly fell in love with the work, and I truly felt like I had found my calling because before I had felt fallen into addiction and got in trouble. I worked the type of jobs that I worked. I wasn't really happy with. I kind of felt like I wasn't going anywhere with those jobs. And once I got into electrical, I knew that what I found was very different because it wasn't just a job; it was a career, and it was something that I knew I wanted to continue doing. And then when I found out that um, being a black woman in the trades and then in the electrical trade at that, it's not common. It's more common now. It's becoming more common nowadays. But when my very first electrical job outside of the institution, um, I was the only woman. I was the only woman on the crew. I worked with all men. There were no women around, and things were, it took a little getting used to, but over the years, the longer I've been in the trade, the more and more women I'm starting to see. And that's a really good feeling because, we can do this work too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So you've been doing commercial work the entire time of your career.
Well, pretty much for the most part, I have done some residential, but the residential that I've done has mainly also been on a commercial scale, like condos, um, also like high end like apartment complexes and things like that. So it's residential but commercial, commercial residential work.
Gotcha. So when you were in school, were you ever introduced or involved in any trades in school?
Not these kind, not like the kind of trades that I'm working now. Like I do remember, like in school, we had what was called shop back then. I don't know that they still do that, but we had wood shop, we had machine shop. So those were things that we did have in school, and I remember being really interested in those classes. They were a lot of fun, and you learned stuff. You were learning a valuable skill set at an early age, which I feel is important. I don't know how much of that is done in schools nowadays. It doesn't seem like very much. However, I do think that it would be beneficial to our youth to bring something like that back into the schools because, as people get older, they retire. And then if you don't have the young people coming behind you following in those career footsteps, then what's going to happen. Like, we need carpenters, we need electricians, we need plumbers, we need HVAC techs, we need finishers. Like, we need these jobs, we need people in these positions. So I think it would be beneficial for them to bring those types of programs back to school.
So I know back when we were in school, it was vocational trades.
Right.
Now, when I was in the school system, everything's called career and technical education. So
Okay.
we do have them.
Hmm.
There's federal funding for it, but there
Okay.
isn't a lot of demand for it in the high schools,
Yeah,
in
same.
the middle schools. So
Right.
that with the demand not being there, teachers aren't coming out of the field to come and teach
Right.
because they're making more money out in the field,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
And no one's going to school to become a carpentry teacher
Yeah.
or an electrical teacher.
Right.
All the
Right. You're right about that. I
it's a
think I think that there's a way that we may be able to create demand by, like, one thing. I'm heavily involved in my union, and there's also a branch within our union called EWMC. It's Electrical Workers Minority Caucus, and I'm recording secretary of EWMC Local 98. And one of the things that we have been discussing and are going to move forward with is the adoption of a high school and a middle school, where we're kind of targeting these younger kids and showing them, hey, this kind of work pays well. You're there's excellent benefits. There's going to be a retire you'll have a retirement package, and then you're not going to have the same you won't have any loan debt as you would if you go to college. Now, not saying anything about college, because to each his own, and college has made some great people. However, it's the debt, the amount of debt that you accrue while you're in college. You won't have that getting into the trades. Yes, you will be going to school. However, you're going to be getting paid for your time because you're still on the job. You go to school 2 nights a week. Every other day of the week, you're working. So you're getting paid through your apprenticeship. And then at the end of your apprenticeship, you're going to be making, depending on the state, because obviously it varies state to state, but depending on where you live, you could be making well over $100,000 a year with no student loan debt.
Yeah, that's very, very true. The I know that we we talk about college, college, college. Like I know we spoke briefly, before the recording, and when I was in school, we had electrical. I think that was it at the high school that I went to, but it was more college prep high school, and it was either you're going to college or you're going to be poor, right? There
Right.
was a stigma attached to the trades. Like
Right.
how do you think we can break that stigma? It's still around the trades that it's lower or lesser than having a 4-year degree, but
Right.
everyone with that 4-year degree are calling us when they have issues. They come and build their house, or when they're having issues with their electrical, they're calling us,
Mhm.
but we're still beneath them because they have a degree.
Right.
How can
Yeah.
we break that stigma with the younger generation?
I think we could break that stigma by doing just like how I previously mentioned about outreach. That's how we're going to be able to break the stigma, is by word of mouth. They need to hear it, and they need to see it. Especially, representation matters. So if a young Black girl sees me, doing this kind of work, she's like, hey, she looks like me and she's doing this, I can do this too. That's how we're going to break the stigma, is by communicating. That's just it. Like, getting out there, whether it be through a podcast or actually going to the schools during like having some sort of assembly, career fair or something like that. That's how we're going to do it.
Mhm. Yeah, I go back to I talked to some of the CTE instructors and asked them if I could come and talk to the kids, as
Right.
much as possible. And I'm open and honest with them. I tell them the first thing I tell them is my salary,
Yeah.
and the jaws hit the floor when I tell them how much I make, and I don't
Right.
have any student loan debt, and I
Right.
didn't get a 4-year degree. Like all
Yeah.
that stuff is possible.
Absolutely.
And like I said, the exposure. I was blown away by the amount of people who hadn't seen anyone like us in our positions,
Yes.
and it's
Right.
you know it's
Right.
it was saddening and it was eye opening at the same time.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I find important with sharing my story. Like I'm very upfront and open with the things that I've been through and even how I came into the trades because I also want to show people who have maybe like are down on their luck or have fallen on hard times or have gone through something. Like I just want other people to see that just because you've hit a rough patch, it doesn't mean you can still turn your life around. You can still make something of yourself. That's one of the reasons why I'm so forthcoming with my story is because people need to see that it can be done. You can recover from addiction. You can go after something that most people may tell you is might be they may tell you it's a waste of your time or you don't belong in that field or whatever. Go after it because you most certainly can do it. It can be done.
Yeah, I agree. I it's definitely a viable option for everyone. It's
Right.
not, and like you said, it's a very good career.
Mm-hmm.
100% honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like getting into the trades was one of the best things I did in my life. It was one of the best decisions I made was to, get into the trades, even though the situation, how I came into the trades, like I said, is unconventional, but I stuck with it. Like when I came home, that was it. I said, I know that I need to find a job in electrical and stay with this. And I'm so glad that I did. And then organizing into IBEW in 2019, oh my gosh, most certainly the best decision that I made in terms of my career.
Yeah, I've been following you on Instagram and seeing some of the
Mm-hmm.
sites and the things that you do, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the new safety gear and and
Yes.
making sure you're doing everything safe. I
Mm-hmm.
can't help it at this point, but
Right.
but yeah, I've been following. I'm very proud of what you're doing and the
Thank you.
following you're getting and all the attention you're getting on Instagram.
Yeah, I
You know,
appreciate that.
so what would you say to anyone interested into getting into the electrical field or into the trades in general?
I would definitely say go for it and prepare yourself as best as you can. There's actually a website, it's called electricprep.com. And that's very helpful for people who are looking to get into the electrical trade. It, you know, it prepares you for the type of tests that you're going to be taking and what type of information that you need to know. Um, I would definitely also suggest to follow Mike Holt if you don't, because that's another way that you're going to learn a lot. Like he is incredibly intelligent um, in terms of probably just overall, but definitely when it comes to electrical. But yeah, I would say go after it and don't be afraid to ask questions. Um, my first boss told me that the only stupid question is the question never asked. So
That's it.
don't be afraid to ask questions. You'll never know if you don't ask.
That's it. That's it. You don't ask, you'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know you talked about it a little bit and opened up, but my last question is always, how has the trades helped you?
Oh gosh. So the trades has helped me to completely turn my life around. I went from working your average, minimum wage earning jobs with no real retirement, Um, very poor benefits. There was nothing really great to write home about. And then the trades completely turned that around for me. Like I earn a very decent wage. I have excellent benefits. I have a retirement package. And then also the camaraderie that comes along with, especially within IBEW, the Brotherhood. Like these people have truly become like your family. And the amount of people who are actually involved and really do look at the IBEW as a family, that helps a lot because you know that if you're ever in need, like there's so many people that you could turn to if need be. But yeah, the joining the trades has just completely turned my life around. Like, I just recently purchased my first home in August. And I mean, 10 20 years ago, I never even thought that I would own a piece of property. You know what I mean? So I've been able to accomplish things that I never saw for myself in the past. And a lot of it is because I joined the trades.
Perfect. So first off, congratulations.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. And on top of that, not to mention you're learning a valuable skill set, like
mhm.
working in the trades, no matter the trade, you are learning a valuable skill set that people are going to need for all time.
It's true. That is true. We talk about the with tech and AI, and AI is not going to come in and fix your light switch,
Right.
right?
Or swap out, say you want to upgrade to a 200 amp service. AI's not going, can't come do that.
Okay. Exactly. Exactly. Those the skilled trades will never go away, even
Right.
even with the invent of new technology.
Hmm.
You're still going to have electricians to oversee these data centers, to build
Right.
the data centers,
Right.
to run those
Absolutely.
cables, the
Hmm.
fiber optics. All of this stuff is still ran by the trades,
Right.
and it needs electricity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So do you travel state to state? Stay local.
So I haven't in a while. I've been pretty local for a while, but there was a time where I did travel, and I the furthest I traveled was North Jersey, which is probably like 20 minutes outside of New York. But there was a job that I was on, um, and I traveled for well over a year, and like I would stay there. We would get to work Monday, and then we would stay until Thursday. We worked 4 10-hour days, so that way we would have off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which was nice. But yeah, so I haven't traveled in quite some time. That ended in 2019 when I organized into IBEW because when I was traveling for work, that was with the non-union company I was with.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anyone, do you want to give everyone your social, your IG or anything like that so they can
Yeah,
follow?
sure. You can follow me at Nora Amala, Nora_Amala on Instagram and on TikTok. Same thing, Nora_Amala on TikTok as well.
Perfect. Thank you. All of that information will be at the bottom of the show notes. So if you want to follow her, she's very inspirational.
Thank you.
I'm proud of what I've seen. I love it. So thank you for the interview,
Of
and I
course.
will definitely keep in touch.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. I'll be looking forward to that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there you have it. I'd like to thank Mrs. Taylor. Everyone go follow her at Nora_Amala on IG. And as always, if you have any questions, any topics, any ideas of a trade you'd like me to research and talk about on the podcast, on the show, again, I could be reached at jonte@letstalktrades.com. Again, like, comment, share, subscribe. Try my best to get this information out to everyone. So again, if you have any questions, it's jonte@letstalktrades.com, and let's continue to talk about it. Thank you.